Hi, welcome to Soap Scoop, the Inside Soap podcast. We have got a bumper episode for you today with brilliant speculation about the year to come. We've got information on the Swarla wedding. We've got Tates versus the Sugdens. We've got Ravi's breakdown. But first, we've got an exclusive interview with Corrie's Jacob Roberts, who plays Detective Kit on the street. Hi, Jacob. Welcome to Soap Scoop, the Inside Soap podcast. It's so nice to have you on with us today.
It's lovely to be here.
So we're talking kind of just after the carnage of Corriedale. What's the reaction been like?
I think it's got quite good reviews, actually. I wasn't surprised, though, because when we was filming it, we knew that we was onto something special. It was carnage. Looking at the scripts was carnage. Looking at all the crashes and stuff, and you're thinking, how is this going to work? But it really did work in the end, I thought. And you had to do something like that to bring everyone together and for storylines to go off on another journey. So, yeah.
Obviously, it was quite a while ago since you filmed it, but what was the experience like getting involved?
Yeah, I mean, it was tiring. I remember we started at 11 and finished about 4 in the morning. And then in between, you seem to have to do certain scenes in the day as well because we were shooting it so out of sync. But yeah, I think that the hard work paid off because I think it's got good recognition as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you were so lucky as Kit because you got really stuck in with the drama kind of on both sides, really. You were with your kind of usual Corrie lot, but you also got involved with the Emmerdale cast as well.
Yeah, I was very lucky, to be honest. And I remember having a meeting with Kate and she just said that you're going to be crossing over with Cain and Ryan and John. So I felt incredibly lucky to be part of that because I did enjoy the scenes with them as well.
Yeah, you got those great scenes in the woods where unfortunately Kit got knocked out by John, but it was kind of Emmerdale big guns really. So that was a really audience.
I think everyone wanted to do a scene with Cain as well. I remember people in work as well was mentioning that Cain would be the one that they want to work with, and I got the opportunity to share a scene with him. So I was very happy with that. I don't think we sort of had much dialogue together, but I don't think there was much dialogue in the crossover episode, to be honest. But yeah, I felt privileged to be a part of that.
You did get called Lanky Mank by Cain, though.
Well, if someone's going to do it, I'll let Cain have it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be kind of insulted by someone, it's got to be Cain.
Exactly.
Was there anyone, any other kind of Emmerdale characters you wished you could have interacted with a bit more?
I wish if they had Anthony Quinlan still there, I wish I did something with him just because he's my friend. So it would have been nice to share a scene with him.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be in the thick of it with Carla, kind of rescuing Carla. Really exciting stuff. And obviously get to be involved with bringing down Becky, which has been one of the biggest storylines in Corrie lately. What was that like to be so heavily involved with that storyline?
Yeah, it's a weird one because me and Ali King sort of got put together out of nowhere. I don't think I did much scenes with Ali before that. We just developed this bond and we both wanted the same thing, whether she wanted Lisa and I just wanted to win the case and all that sort of stuff. But we was both working together to try and get our own goal in a way. So.
Yeah, you forged kind of quite a nice friendship now, it feels like.
Yeah, I think there's some respect there. Maybe there wasn't any respect before that, but I think we sort of respect each other. And I probably respect Lisa a bit more. She respects me a bit more. So, yeah, it's sort of as a bit friends.
It does kind of feel like Carla and Sarah are coming for your job, though.
I know. They cracked the case, didn't they, both of them? He'll take the credit, though, I think.
Oh, yeah, of course. Is there ever any points where you're kind of like frustrated? Obviously, there was a lot of times where kind of Kit was going down one lead and not getting anywhere and kind of tapping at his computer trying to, especially when it was the Rhubarb Hill stuff.
In a way, because I got the crossover episode quite early, I knew that there was an ending. So the build up towards that had to be done. So it had to sort of like, well, we can go down this way or we can go down that way to sort of build the tension with the audience. So yeah, in a way I knew there was an end goal, so it didn't really faze me. But yeah, some of it was like, okay, we still have to get to that crossover yet. And I know there was a lot of think back now because so many episodes have been since that. And trying to do the detective skills or trying to piece things together is quite kind of hard when I suppose you do know there's an end goal, but knowing that there's an end goal and knowing that this lead's going nowhere, you sort of have to motivate the audience to think it is going that way. So
yeah. And obviously we saw Kit try to take down John Sugden in Emmerdale. Would you like to see more crossovers, maybe with Kit kind of trying to join Hot and Police to give their police force a kick up the backside?
Yeah, I mean, it works, I suppose. I don't know if they've got any detectives there or if they've got any police there who are regulars, so it would be nice to cross over a few times. The commute is hard work, though, every day.
This is true,
From
yeah.
Salford to Leeds is hard work. It's a good old trek, so maybe a one-off scene here and there. I won't mind.
Well, we saw Kit be, I guess, in like hero mode in Corriedale and the lead up to it. But previously, he's been more of like a dodgy, bit of a bent cop at times. Do you like that we get to see both sides of him in that way?
Yeah, because I do think even when he's being dodgy, he's doing it for the right reason. I believe that anyway. But it is nice to play the darker part. That's more exciting. And I don't know if he is the hero, because I think there's a few heroes in the actual episode, especially when they move all the car together and stuff like that. So I do prefer him to be dodgy rather than good, because it's just exciting to play that way.
Obviously, you mentioned Kit's relationship with Lisa has changed a bit because those two have butt heads quite a bit throughout the storylines. Do you feel like maybe Kit has won over some of the Swarla fans now?
I don't know. I'd hope to think so. I think with him saving Carla was a good thing, and Kit wants Lisa and Carla to be together anyway. So I suppose that'll make the Swarla fans happy.
Yeah, he does seem very supportive, particularly kind of the episodes we're seeing on screen now, where it's after the crash and he's kind of, edging Lisa to just make things up with Carla. So he does seem fairly supportive. It's probably because he wants a quiet life at work as well.
Yeah, I think he's just work driven anyway. I think all he was thinking about is getting a promotion or just building the ladder, I suppose. So he takes his job very seriously, and I don't think he involves himself in the relationships too much, because he just wants to crack the case. I think it's maybe a bit ego driven as well, and he just wants to make sure that he's getting something out of it at the end of the day.
Yeah. And speaking of relationships, obviously you've seen him and Sarah get more serious lately. Do you think that those two could kind of go the distance, or do you see there could be cracks forming?
I don't think any relationship goes the distance in soap, does it? But I think they've got a good partnership. I do. There might be some cracks coming up, but obviously I can't tell you that. But I do believe that they're a good relationship and they're a good duo together.
Yeah, we've seen a bit of friction with Brody kind of being the awkward teenager in their relationship. But what about Sarah's exes on the street? Because there's a couple of them that are lurking around.
Yeah, and I don't actually know Sarah's history. Does she get back with her exes and this, that, and the other? I'm sure she does. But we've not really filmed anything with her exes. Again, that might come in the future. So
at the moment, Kit doesn't feel too threatened then?
I don't think he's threatened. Maybe in the future, if he sees anything what he thinks is a bit wrong, he might bring it up.
But Kit himself is a bit of a ladies' man. We've seen him have several relationships on the street. Do you think that anyone else could catch his eye?
Possibly. I'm not sure. I leave it up to the writers. I mean, sometimes when you get an opportunity with different casts, you can sort of you might throw a certain look in there, and the writers, let's go down that avenue. But up to now, it's been quite career driven, so it's more about the policey stuff more than the relationships.
Do you tend to kind of go to the writers and find out what's happening, or are you happy to just get groups?
I leave them to it. I don't really go upstairs. I don't really ask for meetings or anything like that. I prefer just to see what I get in my script and see if there's a way I can. If I look at it and go, okay, how do I make this right for me? And yeah, I suppose that's part of the process of being an actor in soap.
Yeah, you've never had any kind of brainwave story ideas and gone to upstairs and said,
I've got ideas, but whether I don't think I want to step on their toes with it. I've always got ideas, but yeah, I think they know what's best for my character, so I leave them to it.
Now, going back to Corriedale for a second, you're used to doing a lot of police stuff on the street, but you got to be involved in kind of all the stunts and pyrotechnics during Corriedale. What was that like to film?
Oh, it was great. I actually remember sitting with Ali King, and it was like it was about, must have been about 2, maybe 3 o'clock in the morning. So we seen the minibus crash, but there was a hedge over it. There was a little gap in the hedge, so we got 2 seats and sat together. If we had a bit of popcorn, we could just watch the crash like that. So it was really good. It's shocking to see live as well when you hear the van fall crash over and stuff. Yeah, it was exciting to be on. It was like a film set.
Yeah, absolutely. So has it kind of made you hungry for more stunts and that in the future?
Well, I love the stunts. That's the best thing about being an actor, I think, that you get involved in all the action. That you don't have anyone doing it for you. I've been lucky enough to do a few things there. So yeah, keep it coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, outside of Kit's job, obviously you've got a fairly big extended family now, because obviously you've got Bernie and Gemma, but you've also got the Allahans as well. What's it like having Dev as your stepfather?
I love Dev. I love Jimmy. Jimmy's actually a bigger character than Dev, I believe. Yeah, Jimmy's a funny man. I do like working. I love working with the family, though. I do. I love working with Jane. I love working with Jimmy. I love working with Ryan, who plays Brody. I love the family stuff, and I don't really think I've had much of that. Because I do think that we should develop that family a bit more. There's so many things you can go down. I don't actually think with Brody that I've done much in terms of fatherhood, or whether they wanted me to do that, so I'm not too sure. But it's just funny, the dynamics between me and Jane, and then between me and Brody. Obviously adopted, and then you've got Ryan, whom I didn't even know I had. So it's nice. It'd be nice to sort of go down that route.
Yeah, I think that relationship between Kit and Bernie is so interesting, because there was so much resentment there at the start, wasn't there? And we kind of see them soften towards each other, but they're still not quite there as kind of mother and son. But I hope that he gets that point.
I feel it would be hard for him to call Jane or call Bernie his mother yet. I mean, I had mentioned it once, but I don't think he'd use it too much to call Jane mum. In terms of like the family dynamics as well, you can go with, obviously you got the Allahans, and then you've got the Platts as well. So it is like one big extended family. So there could be a lot of carnage in there as well, especially at family dues.
Yeah, you've been very lucky to sit in on quite a few Platt dinners now, haven't you?
Yeah. It's funny working with that family. It really is.
Yeah, I think Kit's been kind of the butt of a lot of jokes, and obviously David taking bets on how long Kit and Sarah will last and things like that. And great stuff.
Well, that's against his own sister, so it's not even anything against me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny working with Jack. Jack's pleasure to work with. So I enjoy that sort of relationship between Kit and David.
So you've kind of talked about doing more work stuff and maybe going towards a promotion. So what can you tease for his storylines kind of coming up in terms of, are we going to see a lot more of him police work? What kind of avenue is he going to go down?
I think the police stuff will always be there, and unless he gets fired, I'm not sure. Unless we find out how dodgy he is. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say this, but I thought a promotion would have been after this crossover episode, but I'm not sure if he gets that. So we'll see what happens. Because before this, Costello was obviously trying to give him a promotion, sort of. He was trying to bribe him, wasn't he? So it doesn't really go anywhere after that. So I'm not sure.
Is that what you think his ultimate aim is, to kind of be at the top of the police?
Yeah, and I think that's Kit's overall aim there. I think work comes first in terms of even relationships and stuff like that. His work is his baby, and he'll always be like that. That's what he throws himself into.
Do you think that will end up having a negative impact on the rest of his life?
Possibly, yeah, because if he puts that forward, he's not going to put a family forward. And I don't know if we've had scenes where we've talked about family and this, that, and the other. And I feel like Kit is someone who needs his space and needs his own time and stuff like that. There's no arguing with him. He is what he is. He's been doing it. I think that's his distraction with being hurt when he was adopted. I think he threw himself into work to forget everything, and I think he just was so driven on getting to the top. Whether he gets to the top, I'm not sure.
Obviously, you've talked about kind of wanting more scenes of like your family and things like that. Is there anyone else that you don't really get to have much to do with that you'd like to interact with more on screen?
I really want to work with Mikey and Gary Windass. I know we had a few scenes where Mick was involved, but yeah, I'd love to work with Gary Windass. I think there's some good dynamics there, especially with Sarah's ex and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really intrigued to go down that route with Gary.
Yeah, definitely. So do you think this is maybe a start of a new era for Kit? Has he turned over a new leaf, or do you think we'll start to see him go back down a dodgy path again?
I feel like he'll always be dodgy, and I think they should always keep him dodgy. But I don't think he's turned over a new leaf. I think he could stab Lisa in the back straight away if he wanted to. If it helps.
Oh, wow, okay.
If it helps him, I think he would.
Right.
Straight away.
Yeah, so if it's a case of sacrificing Lisa to move up the chain, he'll do it.
But yeah, he's selfish. I think Kit's a selfish character, so yeah, he'll 100% do it.
And do you think he's kind of learned any lessons from Costello? Obviously, Costello was corrupt. Do you think he's maybe seeing him as a bit of a inspiration or a warning?
I mean, he tread carefully with Costello, obviously, but while Costello was being dodgy, Kit was being just as dodgy. I think it's just a chess game with stuff like that. But yeah, I think he'll always have things cropping up about him or certain characters coming in to sort of rock the ship.
Okay, so we should Lisa should watch her back, and everyone should watch his face then.
Yeah. Well, I think he has got a good relationship with Lisa, but he, like I say, he wants to be top dog. So, and she knows that. So it is kind of like, and she'll sort of patronize him in certain ways. So I don't think Lisa's as innocent as she makes out to be.
They're never going to be best friends, are they?
No.
I thought it would be boring. We wouldn't want that anyway.
No.
Well, thank you so much, Jacob. It's been so lovely to chat to you, and can't wait to find out what's next for Kit.
Oh, thank you, Chloe. You take care.
Now, what an amazing start to the year it's been. We've had Corriedale, we've had all this excitement going on, and we've just had what a lovely interview with Jacob Roberts from Corrie. He was in the thick of it, mingling with the Emmerdale cast, being called a lanky mank by Cain. What a great start to the year, Johnny.
I know. I think Kit was kind of the hero, wasn't he, of that whole week? It's really come into his own. Although Sarah seemed to, get to the crime solving a bit quicker than a qualified police officer like Kit. So I think Sarah maybe should be joining up. They could be like a Dempsey and Makepeace for 20
Well, they did talk about maybe Sarah and Carla being the new replacements in the police station. Maybe this is the future.
Yeah, they absolutely need to. But yeah, I thought Kit was great. Corriedale, still reeling. I know we've talked about Corriedale already quite a lot. But I mean, it's interesting. The aftermath kind of episodes just show you how much was packed into that hour, because both Corrie and Emmerdale are now like soaring off into all sorts of directions because of the Corriedale plots that were set up. And it's just going to run and run, isn't it? So yeah, I mean, it wasn't just a gimmick, a flash in the pan. Like Corriedale had proper consequences and continues to. It's only just begun in a way, especially with Swarla. I mean, it was a game changer for what happens next with Swarla.
Yeah, and we're going to dive straight into the Swarla gossip, because we've got previews with both the Corrie producer Kate Brooks and the Emmerdale producer Laura Shaw in our brand new issue out today, which is going to preview the 2026 drama that's coming up. But I want to touch on Swarla first, because we saw yesterday possibly, we think, the end of Becky Swain.
Is it the end of Becky Swain, though?
This is the big
set her up. She was such a huge part of 2025. Back from the dead, big villain. I don't think that's it. I don't know. I mean, I have a prediction. Shall I share my prediction with you?
Prediction.
My prediction. I always like to get my crystal ball out this time of year, as does it. We all at Inside Soap, and that's why we love doing these New Year previews. So in the New Year preview that lovely Kate Brooks talked to Inside Soap about Swarla, she kind of heavily hinted things are going to settle down for Swarla. Maybe even the much promised wedding that we're all waiting for, kind of saying, springtime, wedding bells, tease, tease, tease. Lovely. Let's have a few months of happiness for Swarla. But I'm predicting usually a super soap week around May, June, British Soap Awards, lots of, action around that time traditionally. So you heard it here first. Becky, sans coat, maybe with a new haircut even, breaks out of prison and interrupts Swarla's wedding, which is probably in the bistro due to the location budget maybe being spent on the Corriedale night shoots. Discuss.
Well, I'm gonna put that to one side and raise you. I'm gonna say maybe that would be a red herring, okay? Because we're always expecting Becky to return, because we've seen so many prison escapes. It's kind of inevitable at this point. Becky is the obvious choice, right, to derail the wedding, but I think the question mark is over the second kind of foil for their relationship, the infamous Peter Barlow.
Peter Barlow. Peter Barlow. Where did that come from? I'm sorry, like, hasn't he been gone for ages? What have you heard?
Well, I haven't heard anything, but there's a certain Maggie Driscoll and a cabinet we've talked about a few times that the two could be linked somehow.
The Cabinet of Maggie Driscoll does sound like a century novel, doesn't it?
It really does.
It does sound like something we studied at school. Well, yeah, we had to do the Cabinet of Maggie Driscoll. Then we went to see it at the local theatre, Amtram. The Cabinet of Maggie Driscoll. So, yeah, just to refresh memories, because this has been discussed on this podcast, and it's kind of out there in the fanosphere. It was quite subtle, but when the Driscolls first arrived, Maggie was in the Barlow's front room and she saw something in Ken's sideboard or cabinet, wherever it was, and kind of flinched. And people have been kind of thinking, is she linked to the Barlows? Did she see a photograph of somebody, of a family member that may not be on the street at this current time? And everyone's thinking Peter Barlow because he's away at the moment. So since we discussed it, there is more evidence for this. So I can see where you're coming from, Chloe, with this. The flashback episode to Maggie's husband's death. Remember that? Just for
Alan?
Christmas?
Is it Alan?
Alan, was it Alan? Oh yeah, Alan. R.I.P. Alan, aka that guy off EastEnders as well. So Alan met a bit of a grisly end at Maggie's hands. Maggie's, hiding this terrible secret. He talked about an affair that had happened, that Maggie had an affair some years before. So back in the 80s, I guess. And that had, caused problems in the marriage. I mean, the big problem in the marriage is that she pushed her husband down the stairs and killed him. But anyway, so are we thinking, because Peter Barlow as a character was like in and out of Corrie his whole life, he was born in the street in the 60s, but he wasn't a regular until Chris Gascoigne played him in the sort of noughties. And he was in the Navy, so he was traveling all the time, probably a woman in every port. I think there is backstory that he spent time around Ireland. So how far are we going here? Are we just saying Peter Barlow turns up and destroys Swarla wedding? Or Peter Barlow and Maggie Driscoll had an affair? Is he Ben's dad?
Oh, now that would be a twist and a half.
Or the brother's dad. There's a brother that we don't
know. I mean, I feel like it would be kind of cruel to bring in Peter just as Carla and Lisa are about to wed or have just wed, because, bearing in mind their proposal was derailed by Becky, it does feel a bit cruel to the fans. I mean, I know,
and that's
soap. I mean, that is soap. But I feel like maybe it wouldn't happen on the wedding day or before the wedding day. Maybe give them a few days, a few episodes of.
That's very kind. You're so giving. I love this.
I'm just thinking of the backlash. I'm thinking of the
They probably aren't if they're getting Peter Barlow back.
I mean, if that is the plan, maybe they're not worried. But I do think after however long this Becky stuff's been going on, it's been like nearly 6 months, is it? Or maybe not that long, since a few months. 4 months.
Yeah, like the autumn.
Yeah, I feel like they do deserve a little bit of happiness, but we know that it doesn't last long in soap. You have to have your conflicts, you have to have your ups and downs. So I feel like, whatever happens, they will get a beautiful wedding out of it, and I'm sure all the boats will be pushed out for that. But there is going to be more conflict on the horizon, be it Peter, be it something else. There's obviously been all the speculation about Rob Donovan's potential, baby coming back into it. I don't know whether I like that idea, to be honest.
Well, I mean, that's out there for a reason, isn't it? Maybe that is the thing. Maybe that's a bit of happiness. Again, we've kind of said, what if this baby showed up on the doorstep and Carla and Lisa raised this child together and it completes their family? That could be a more positive thing. However, the child of Rob Donovan probably going to be a bit of a handful, but anyway.
Well, we've talked before about how we think this is going to be the year of Betsy, maybe going off the rails. And I think that potentially could provide the kind of grit and the drama that these two need to kind of stop them becoming kind of too safe, too happy, too stale. So I think we could look to a future of Betsy being the main antagonist, as it were, and coming between them and causing all sorts of issues. But obviously Peter is out there somewhere, and is
Becky, do you want Becky back? Like, how do you feel about Becky?
I wanted Becky dead, and I know I'm always killing off people on this podcast.
Because mercenary, I love this.
I'm kind on one hand, I'm giving on one hand, and then taking away on the other. Just because I wanted the story to come full circle, I think. She started off dead, but then maybe I think this is probably the better conclusion for her character. She gets to suffer a bit more. Maybe death was too easy.
Justice needs to be done. I'd also like to have the actual story explained a bit more, because I'm still a bit in the dark as to what she did. I'm sorry.
Do you mind though? Because I sort of feel like, to me, the actual interesting part is the emotional conflict between.
Yeah, definitely. Like,
Yeah.
that is what the story's about at the heart of it. But the mechanics and the context of the corruption, or the gangsters, or the Tia Wardley, or the Tia Coffee, whoever it was, I've lost track, and it at times has made me a bit lost. And so it is the motivation of Becky at times. I think it got clearer. We know what Becky wants. She just wanted her family back. She just wanted Lisa and Betsy. But it muddled her motivation a bit. So I mean, if she does come back, I'd just rather the the cop drama biz was sort of just maybe brushed away a bit. I don't know. Also, how much more can she do now? Like, I feel like Corriedale was it was such a great ending of that chapter. Maybe she will come back, who knows? But we've talked about that moment, Lisa handcuffing her in the ambulance. So good. I feel like maybe Becky needs to be gone for a bit, because that was a really perfect moment.
Yeah.
I want that tarnished for a while. But
And I also feel like after that brilliant moment with Lisa kind of waking up almost and realizing her detective powers again, maybe we need a bit more seeing Lisa kind of doing some good policing rather than just being completely oblivious to what's going on around her. That would be nice. Be funny, wouldn't it, if Kit kind of becomes really good pals with Carla, but then is also still really antagonistic with Lisa? That would be kind of like, Carla invites Kit round for a drink and Lisa comes home and she's like glaring at him, that would be kind of fun.
It's like an old sitcom. Like, the boss is coming for dinner. It's super awkward. So yeah, if Kit becomes like the new Costello, basically the new head of Manchester Police, yeah, and Lisa's demoted and she's like seething. But yeah, him and Carla are pals, and then Sarah obviously in the mix, works with Carla. Sarah's with Kit. Yeah, super awkward dinner parties to look forward to in 2026.
Well, we're going to move on to the Dales now, and obviously now tightly linked with Weatherfield. But we're going to have to talk about the conclusion to Corriedale, which we now know John Sugden was killed by his sister Victoria. Fantastic scenes, amazing performances from Isabel Hodgins. And the aftermath of this has been so brilliant. I think it's been really fantastically entwined. We've got Joe involved, blackmailing Robert, who's now, reluctantly setting up Moira, who's going to be arrested, we know. I mean, it's the twists and the blackmail and the stakes. I mean, the stakes couldn't be higher, could they?
It's really exciting. And, again, Emmerdale pulling it out of the bag just when you think, oh, that's done. The human trafficking story has been amazing. So many twists. It's kind of, Celia and Ray appear to be dispatched. But now we have this whole Moira's going to be framed thing, which we sort of knew Celia was planning. We know that she's already planted evidence up when Anya died. So the pieces have come together so brilliantly. And what I love, and what I know you love, Chloe, is it's gone back to the root of Tates versus Sugdens. This is tale as old as time. This is what Emmerdale's built on, and what soaps are built on in, family feuds. But the Tates and the Sugdens, it's so great to see that generation come of age and with massive stakes, and it feels emotional and quite blockbuster plot at the same time, which is really hard to pull off, which I think Emmerdale are doing really, really well. You've got all the emotion of knowing what Maura's been through the last year, nearly losing the farm. Now she's may end up in prison, accused of being a people trafficker. But Robert wants to protect Victoria. Robert is the most selfish person, and he's being forced into this villainous act. But it at the heart of it, it's a really selfless act because he's trying to protect Vic. So it's really complicated, and it's really the morals are all over the place. Joe and Robert are shifty people, and they are acting in the interests of protecting their family and their legacy in their own way.
I mean, is Joe protecting his family, or is Joe just want the money? Because Joe's just after the farm, isn't he, really?
Joe's after the farm, but Joe wants to impress Kim, I think.
True.
Joe does want to be the chosen one, and that, he does, as much as he's very smug and very like, I don't care, I'm Joe Tate, I can do what I like. He wants to inherit everything. He wants to be in Kim's good books. He does want to impress her, despite their clashes. So, and this is an interesting thing to happen when we know Graham Foster. It's my impression, it's not very good. He talks like this. Graham is going to be coming back, and Graham is, Joe's father figure, kind of the person who brought Joe up effectively, because all the rest of his family were either dead, recast, in prison, or wherever they were. So Joe has done this awful thing. One of the worst things Joe's kind of done. So yeah, I don't know, is Graham's return going to make Joe want to mend his ways, and then he'll drop the whole thing against the Sugdens, or is Graham and Joe going to team up and be, I don't know what, like bad boys together?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes Graham was sort of Joe's conscience, and other times he was, doing his dirty work for him. And I feel like with this, Joe is kind of remorseless about it. He really does not care less about Moira or the farm or the Sugdens. I mean, to know what they went through at John's hands and still be like, I don't care, I want to get your farm and the money out of this. I think it's been great to watch. I mean, Ned is fantastic as a sort of slightly arch panto villain. I think he's fantastic. Really fun to watch. And I really do enjoy these stakes because, like you say, for Robert, it's incredibly uncomfortable because he knows also Cain's in hospital, potentially has cancer. This is another family a whole family he could destroy. And don't forget that now he's engaged to Aaron. He's got the Dingles that are supposed to be his family that he's also potentially betraying as well. But it's like, what choice do you make? Because he doesn't want Victoria to go down for this. So I love the stakes. I think it's like an impossible choice. It's a great messy situation. I do hope that, I mean, we've seen Joe and Robert up against each other before, and it kind of came to a bit of an abrupt end when Joe left the show. So I'm glad that we're kind of getting to explore it again. But I'm hoping between the two of them, we do get to see times where it changes and shifts, so that 1 minute the Sugdens are winning and 1 minute the Tates are winning. Because I think if the Tates just plow over the Sugdens, it will get a bit dry. So I'm hoping that the two can kind of be a bit back and forth.
I think that is what's going to happen, because Robert isn't going to take this line down, is he? At the minute where we are on screen, yeah, like you say, it's the impossible choice, and Robert is kind of hating himself, even though a few years ago Robert would have probably absolutely relished in causing all this pain and misery. But don't underestimate Robert Sugden. I think he's.
I mean, he is the ultimate schemer, and I also think we do know from what Laura Shaw has teased in the magazine this week that Victoria's lies and the kind of the killing of John is going to unravel, and we obviously know that Victoria is going to be off soon. We don't know for how long, so hopefully it's not going to be a case of she gets banged up, but I'd like to see some sort of win, because at the end of the day, John poisoned her and tried to drug Harry as well. I mean, it was absolutely awful near the end. So the fact that she killed him, you could easily argue with self-defense. So I feel like it would be really harsh if she got punished for it.
And then Joe's got nothing. Do you know what I mean? I can see it going that way, that if it all comes out, it won't end as badly for Victoria as we thought, because it's self-defense, and that's easily argued, I guess. She's a heritage character. Izzy Hodgins, very exciting in real life. She's off on maternity leave soon. I don't imagine that she would leave the show permanently, because she's such an important character. The fun twist would be Joe ends up with no hold over the Sugdens, and what happens then? But he's already annoyed them so much. Yeah, the balance of power is certainly going to shift, just like the Barnes and Ewings in Dallas, or Eels and the Braddings. I'm kind of gripped. And also, look at Emmerdale the last year. You can't second guess anything in that show. The stories are on fire. The twists and the turns are so clever. I just sit back and pass the popcorn, because I've kind of been wrong on all counts in the last year, trying to predict where the storylines are going to go, which I'm really, really appreciative of, because we're so experts. We love speculating. I say we're experts. I mean, you're an expert. I just, maybe not as clever as you, but we love to speculate, and we sometimes feel like we know where it's going to go. But yeah, Emmerdale has completely blindsided us for the last year. Long may that continue.
And while we're on the subject of characters coming back from the dead and big twists, we have a surprise appearance from Nish in EastEnders to enjoy.
Indeed, the hallucination, I'm calling it.
I like it.
You can have that. Yes, the hallucination. So Ravi, the revenge, I'm on fire. What can I say? Nicola and Harry's revenge kind of led Ravi down some quite scary scenes where he was drugged, and then there's Nish a year later. Nish, boo. But now if we played him, was so lovely whenever Inside Soap, interviewed him, and he was just a great friend to the magazine, and a great villain. So nice to have him back, even though he was kind of dead. But look at EastEnders the last year. Pat Barry, Angie, Debbie, now Nish. Doesn't matter if you're dead, you can still pop up, pretty regularly. So yes, he's joining the ranks of the kind of ghost cast of EastEnders that seem to be popping back every so often.
And how do you feel about this Ravi breakdown stuff? Because I know we've had a lot of discussion about Ravi's going down this dark path of the drugs, and I think we all felt a bit like it wasn't our favorite character development for Ravi. How do you feel about this? Do you think it's going to be enough of a redemption for him to kind of see him? Well, it looks like he's kind of losing his mind a little bit. What do you think about that as a redemption arc?
I think we're a bit of a way from redemption, but I'm glad they're punishing him, because whatever you think of the storyline and where Ravi went and the decisions he made, it's happened, right? So, but what's interesting is that he is remorseful himself. He wishes it had never happened. And genuinely, I do believe that Ravi is sorry, but he needs to be punished. He did some terrible things. People died, people are in prison. He was horrible to Kojo. That in itself, even if he'd done nothing else, that in itself is unforgivable. So I like the fact, call me sick, he's being tormented and he's being absolutely put through the ringer, and that needs to happen. So whether we get redemption at the end of it, I don't know. I feel like he's going to be... Look at someone like Max Branning. He's constantly tormented. He's constantly on the edge of redemption, but is he really? I feel like that's Ravi's future. And that's really interesting because you've got so much to mine from that. So yeah, I don't know. I want the man tortured, Chloe, to be honest. I want him to be absolutely, having a terrible time because he should, because of what he did, and it makes it more interesting, and it doesn't tie it up in a bow. And again, Ravi's very complex. This adds some complexity to an already very interesting character. But yeah, redemption, let's not use the R word quite yet. We're away from that.
We've got a while to go.
I know you didn't like the drugs and everything, but where do you see Ravi's future? Are you a Ravi fan?
I love Ravi, but I really had gone off him, I have to say, because I felt like he'd gone too far on the dark side, because I just thought what we saw Kojo and Harry go through was so horrific. I just thought, do you know what? Actually, I can't watch Ravi have dinner with his family and be this nice family man, because I just think what you're doing is awful. Right. It was just too far for me. But I feel like his best stuff for me was the era of Nish telling him to take Eve to the woods and kill her, and him being completely tormented over that. So I am looking forward to
happy days.
Happy times. I mean, I love the Panesars as a family unit and the kind of Gulati side of it. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Ravi and Priya and the kids, and how the family kind of cope with whatever path kind of Ravi goes down. Obviously, Aaron Thero is a great actor, and so I think Ravi, in my mind, should be like one of the leading men of EastEnders, and I think hopefully the storyline will kind of carve that path for him. And yeah, I think it's been obviously last year this time was when the wedding had just happened and we saw him push Nish off the balcony. That was an incredible moment, and that I remember that scene really vividly, where he did that and then walked through the hotel, and I just remember thinking, wow, he's such a presence and he's such a great character because he's so morally grey. But I think they did shift too far on the dark side last year, so hopefully this year will kind of get him back onto even keel. But yeah, great character and really kind of exciting path for him to go down, because I think it's quite unexpected. So really looking forward to kind of all the Panesar drama coming up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love them all. And more Priya, can we just shout out? She's got a lot coming up. Like her moral compass is, all over the place. But yeah, looking forward to Priya kind of staking her claim as that matriarch in the making. Yeah, I love them together. But I like, thinking there might be some infidelity in Priya's future. Just think about that flash forward and that mystery pregnant woman in Max's bed. Just saying.
And there was that little moment between her and Max where he complimented her boots, didn't he? So you never know.
Never know. Keep him peeled. But yeah, sort of, spending time with the Panesars will be very interesting in 2026, I think.
So we want your comments and speculation, because we've given you a look into our crystal ball. We want to hear what your predictions are for 2026. Tell us what you think about our producer interviews. What are you most looking forward to that's coming up this year? I'm sure many of you will be excited about the Swarla wedding and hopeful that there won't be any interruptions or uninvited guests. But tell us what you think is going to happen in the comments below. And thank you so much for all your comments over our Corriedale podcast. We loved reading them and we love sharing in your excitement as well. So please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.